First item on the agenda is the invocation of allegiance, and I'll turn that over to Vice Chairman Bingham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight with us, we have two Airport High School students. Zarima Martinez is going to lead us in the invocation, and Paxton Brooks is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Zarima is a senior at Airport High School, where her current class rank is 4 out of 281, with a GPA of 4.983. She was raised by Mexican immigrants, neither of which attended high school. Blessed by God to have the support and encouragement from both her mother and father, she's been able to become the person she is today. Zarima is the member of the Beta Club, the National Honor Society, the Spanish Honor Society, and she's a leader in her church. Although class standing is an honorable achievement, Zarima does not believe that it is all any student should be striving for in their high school career or life in general. Rather, strive to be an impact in society, and any other accomplishments that may come are to be proud of, but not defined by. Zarima's college choice is unclear, but she hopes to become closer to God as she studies Him, becoming a theology major and serving Him in our society. Paxton is number 2 in his senior class with a GPA of 5.035. He's participated in Airport's early college program and will enter college with 30 credit hours through. Paxton is a member of the National Honor Society, the Beta Club, the B-27 Academic Honor Society, and served as a member of student government during his sophomore and junior years. Paxton began playing soccer when he was 4 years old and began kicking for former middle school's football team in the 8th grade. He has earned all region honors and served as a captain in both soccer and football at Airport. Paxton is currently ranked as the second best punter in the country by Cole's Kicking and ranked 5th in the country by ESPN as a kicker. He was selected as the Under Armour All-American, as WLTX Player of the Week, and as the Lexington School District 2 Student of the Year. Paxton has served as a mentor to elementary students at Congaree Wood Early Childhood Center for the past few years, and most enjoyed working with students with disabilities. He plans to graduate early and enroll at the University of Tennessee in January, where he is committed to play football. He also received scholarship offers from Army, NC State, and Wake Forest. Paxton plans to major in kinesiology and ultimately have a career in physical therapy. So Zarema, if you will stand at the mic and lead us in the invocation, and when she's done, Paxton, if you follow her and lead us in the pledge.
Dear Lord, I ask that today you bless us with your intelligence and your wisdom. I thank you so much for having us all here today. And I beg you that over all these people that are here together as your children, you fill us with your spirit, your wisdom, your knowledge. And I ask that you help that every decision that is made here in your presence be your will, that it be made with courage, strength, and justice. And I thank you for all these people that are here. Again, I just ask that you continue to lead us today and every single day to be led by you, and that everything that be done as you wish. In your most holy name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much for coming.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and if no objection, the agenda will stand approved as submitted. Next item is public participation hearing.
We have no request tonight.
Thank you. Next is reports on honors and accomplishments of student and staff. Dr. James?
Yes, ma'am, that's in the packets, paper. We've had several things put out this last couple of weeks. Dawn has done an outstanding job of getting that out. So if you'll look through your packets and then the copies in the office.
Thank you, sir. All right, next we'll move on to unfinished business, and the first item is update on enhancing student safety on the bus. Dr. James?
Yes, ma'am. At the last meeting, I told you we were putting out requests for proposals for the GPS tracking on our buses. The bids are currently in. They came in today. They're under review. Our anticipated cost, just looking at and talking to Tony, should be over a 5-year period of time, somewhere in the $200,000 range for 5 years. That's not a definitive number. Like I said, the committee is still opening packets and reviewing, but that appears to be the range. And we should have a recommendation for the board at the November meeting, and that will have the 10-day waiting period for protest will have lapsed by that time. So we'll bring you a recommendation at that time.
All right, thank you. All right. Now we'll move on to new business. First item is first reading of board policy IKADD, content and credit recovery.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, as you're aware, in the spring, well, actually 1 year ago, we brought to you the uniform grading policy changes, which you voted upon and approved. In the spring, we were notified that what was approved by the state board in 2016, there were modifications, and we shared with you those modifications. We realized at that point in time we would have to come before you with policy. Tonight, we're asking for approval with regards to content and credit recovery for Lexington School District 2. As we studied our procedures and guidelines, we uncovered that we did not have a previous policy in place. So we adopted, or we're sharing with you tonight, the model school board policy. We did not try to make many revisions to the model school board policy because we felt like it would be best for us to implement with fidelity what the school board is recommending with regards to content and credit recovery. So at this point in time, the administration recommends the approval of the first reading of new board policy IKADD, content and credit recovery.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve first reading for board policy IK ADD as presented.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Giles. Any discussion? Ms. Kessler?
For both content recovery and for credit recovery, when would that be done?
Well, for content recovery, it's like a rolling ongoing process, like students can recover top units.
Yes,
of-
during the course of
During the
that
course
week.
of the year.
Okay. So when would they do that? Would they do that after school on their own time?
They do
Would
it-
they be pulled from another class?
Well, we have grad point labs that they can be assigned to, and then also, of course, we're one-to-one, so students can do it on their own time as well.
But we would not be pulling them out of another class to
No.
do course recovery while they're absent in that class?
No, ma'am. That's why the policy specifically states that. We realize that we had some flawed procedures. Yes, ma'am.
There was a reason for asking, I just want to make sure that
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
not the same thing. Thank you.
Any other discussion? I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, we'll move on to consideration of change of date for the regular monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees for November. We have a conflict with a National School Board Association conference that several members will be attending. So we would like to get a motion to move it from November 16th to November 30th.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we move the November board meeting from November 16th to November 30th.
A motion to have a second? Second by Ms. Kessler. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is consideration of schematics for former middle school. Mr. Eisenhower?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, we have with us tonight Todd Cease and Jenny Kirk. Todd being from Jump Car Cease and Jenny Kirk being from Thompson Turner Construction. They're going to be presenting for your consideration schematics for former middle school and also
Excuse me. Thompson Turner's not doing full membership.
contract construction, sorry.
Thank you.
Todd's usually with, so instead of Jenny Kirk, it will be Glenn Dillon. My apologies. Todd, if you will show us what you're thinking there on former middle school, we would appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Eisenhower. Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, thank you for the opportunity to give you an update tonight on the work that we've been doing. I will say that we met with Mr. Eisenhower and Mr. Kugler and Ms. Guerrera at Former, and we've gone through and started the discussions and preliminary thoughts about how we could transform Former Middle School into a state-of-the-art middle school facility. So tonight we're extremely excited to share with you some of our initial thoughts and get your feedback as we continue to move forward through the design process. I know you guys have all seen it, but I thought it'd be good just to do a little refresher, all right? So as you ride down Boston Avenue toward Midlands Tech, toward the airport, you almost pass right by middle school without ever even knowing it's there. It's 14 feet below the level of the road, so that's a consideration that we want to address. And so tonight we'll show you some solutions of how we think we could give Former Middle School more of a presence along Boston Avenue. These are just some other images of the existing facility and some of the things, some opportunities that we have to improve the educational environment at the school. They do a great job of educating our young people, and so we need to give them a facility that enhances the work that they do. One other thing that we talked about during the discussion is how can we have connectivity with Airport High School? You know, it's right there. Some of the students at Former go over and spend time at Airport High School, and some of the students at Airport High School come over and spend time at Former Middle School. So we need to create a pathway back and forth. we think we can identify that right out of the back of the auditorium and the new 100 wing at airport, and provide connectivity straight out over to the front door of the new former middle school. So that's a consideration as we approach the design process that we want to make sure we take into account. Now, I'll share Dr. James and Mr. Eisenhower and Kelly. We've had a lot of conversations about the overall budget at Fulmer, so we can discuss that later, and Don, you might want to share that. But what we're proposing is to take down the existing 100 wing at Fulmer and the 200 wing at Fulmer. So the existing old science wing and 200 wing has the media center and the cafeteria and the administrative wing. All of those are very low sort of facilities. They're difficult to add on to. It would be difficult to add to and meet the current building codes. So we propose that those wings be demolished completely and create a new two-story structure that will relate and have a presence along Boston Avenue. So just to kind of give you an idea, this is Walter Burr Street along the bottom of the drawing. Boston Avenue runs up and down this right-hand side of this sheet. Airport High School is located here. The practice field, football field is located here. The Eagle's Nest is right there. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we are. One of the things is, we want to separate ourselves from the surplus building right adjacent. So we are proposing creating a landscape hedge that would be a visual barrier to the work or the buildings that are a part of the surplus center. But what we would propose is a brand new two-story facility that would include a new cafeteria, a new media center on the second floor, a safe and secure entrance into the new entrance at the Fulmer Middle School, additional flexible lab spaces that again accommodate the the 21st century programs that Megan has going on at her school, and then some additional classrooms as well. So the net gain in square footage is not significant, but what is different and important is the spaces that we'll be creating will enhance the programs and the classes that they're teaching at Fulmer. And then we're proposing that the existing 300 hall be maintained basically as it is. Now, we're also proposing that the existing gym would remain intact. If funding is available and you can do more than just the two-story building and classroom facility out front, then there could be a phase 2 to this project, where you would basically take down the existing locker rooms, the PE multi-purpose type room. It has some issues with fresh air and it's in dire need of attention. And the attention that we would propose is you take it down and you build a new facility. So the phase 2 of this project, we would propose new band, chorus, strings, create an electives wing, new locker rooms for girls and boys, new toilets, reorient the gym so that we're creating a new lobby which is accessible off of this parking area, and we're increasing the stacking and the parking space as well. But basically rebuilding the areas around the existing gym at Fulmer. Failed to mention early on, and I should have, but the parking and the vehicular circulation around the school would still be very similar to what you have going on right now. We would propose that the parents continue off of Boston, down Walter Burr, loop around the site, have a covered entrance toward the back of the school But really, it's the front part of the back of the school. So again, it would be a pleasant sort of entrance down past the kitchen, in and adjacent to the cafeteria, or to the next entrance into the classroom wing. So parents drop off their children, they can go to the cafeteria, or they could immediately go into the school. We also would propose the possibility of buses looping around this front entrance, dropping off immediately adjacent to the cafeteria. I think Megan shared that, that would be something that would be desirable. So we're working with SCDOT about addressing those issues. That's an important step that we have to go through, and we're in the process of doing that, so we'll be able to bring you more information as we get information back from DOT. And then we would propose the front of the building, again, being considerably higher than the current building, which is about at this level, so it's almost 2.5 story high, but creating a new front entrance. This building will be parallel to Boston on the left-hand side, adjacent to the main entrance, and again, a safe and secure environment where visitors are forced to go through the administrative wing prior to entering the rest of the school. The administrative suite and guidance suite would be located on the ground floor. The media center would be located up above. All of this glass is north facing, so it would be a very pleasant sort of naturally lit area inside of these media center and lab space and classrooms. And then anchoring the right-hand side of the building would be the new cafeteria, and the covered walk would extend on across there and out to the parent drop-off drive. So we've identified a budget, and we're going to work toward that budget for phase one. If additional funding is available, then we would like for you to consider phase two, but that could be in the future as well.
Madam Chair, I think it is important that we make you aware of the fact that what we have discussed, and Kelly and I have crunched numbers basically all week trying to figure out, if there were any additional funds that we could put toward this project. What we would propose to you is that we take the money that's set aside for the District Education Center, which is $2.5 million, and that we put that toward this budget because we know that there's some interest in doing more for this school. And what we would also propose is that we would pay for improvements at the District Education Center through our CPIF funds. We may have to do it in a couple of years, and or with residual bond money that might be left over at the end.
If we do the District Education Center last, then that gives us an opportunity if there's any money from the bonds. But in talking to Todd today and Don and Kelly, what we found out is in order to put money where kids are and to make a difference in this building, it's going to take that $2.5 million. It probably will take more than that $2.5 million. Todd's amen nodding over there to that, but at least if we move this to last, it gives us an opportunity to do roofing and HVAC, not CPIF, and then if we have other fundings at the end, we don't kill the budget. And if we shortchange this project early on, then we can't go back at the end and fix it. So that's kind of throwing the board a curve, but we're going to be outside the budget obviously with this, but we think we've identified a way that we can move on to it.
Question. The additional $2.5 million, will that get us to phase two, or is that to cover phase one?
I'll be, again, straight up with you. In my opinion, if we are going to look at doing phase two, which would be around an $18 million project, at that point, I think you got to look at just totally tearing it down and rebuilding it for somewhere in the neighborhood of probably $24 million. I don't see that kind of money being available because again, in some calculations that we've already done, we've committed at this point about $19 million over and above the $225 million it was in the bond referendum. And we've done that through some pretty good management of funds. And everybody will get their share, as it was stated to us when we first arrived and were given a budget for each of these projects. I want to be cautious and not misleading you in thinking that, that we think that there will be $18 million for this project. I don't think that will be available. I just want to make sure we're clear about that up front.
Mr. Giles, we talked at length this morning. It's been a good bit of time this morning going over the numbers for Kelly. I talked to Todd. To clarify the $19 million that Don's talking about, we haven't committed money that isn't there. Don's done a real good job of pinching pennies, and Kelly's done a real good job of bond sales and moving money. So the $19 million, there's no project out there that doesn't have its original budget, and there's no debt that's going to come along somewhere out of the blue that's not covered. But if we have $18 million at the end of this project to put forward in one school, it would be a miracle. Right now, our budget is just over 10. We're going to add another 2.5. I think Todd's probably going to come in somewhere just a little above that. We're going to pray a lot and do what we can to pinch pennies and talk Glenn into working a little cheaper. But we don't think we can do the $18 million.
So, Todd, go back one slide. One more. Go back to the pretty building. Okay. This is phase one?
That is phase one, yes ma'am.
And that includes the landscaping and the
Yes.
overhang and the connecting, does that connect airport and that you feel like with the additional money, you're going to be close?
Well,
Maybe?
I think we'll be close.
Lynn, maybe I need to ask.
Dr. James explains it perfectly.
Thank you, Todd.
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what we think it's important to sort of transform that facility into something that, the community can be extremely proud of. And they do great work there educating the young people, you guys do. And so, our hopes is this facility enhances that educational process and addresses their needs.
Thank you.
How many more classrooms are in this phase one than what's out of 100 and 200 hospitals? How many classrooms are we losing then?
You're not losing any, it's basically a wash. So but what's different about it, Ms. Kessler, is that the spaces are larger and they're designed with flexibility and innovative sort of concepts in that educational process. So they're more conducive to the current educational process than those existing facilities that are there now.
Well, we got another part of the building that we can't use because of the air quality, is that correct?
I agree 100%. That air quality is not good in that PE area.
At one time, we talked about cutting down that hill to make Pullman more visible. That is not anywhere in this picture, is that correct?
It is not. But what we're doing is proposing this facility so that, you now are looking at the building instead of the roof and the mechanical units.
I see another flat roof there too.
It's a low slope roof.
Thank you.
Ms. Kessler.
Help me understand the math of this. Originally, you've got 11.8 allocated for Florida. For district office, 3.2.
You're looking at hard and soft costs. We're talking just hard costs, just construction costs is all we're talking about right now. It's just for the
You
construction.
better plan it hard and plan it big, because if you're going to have more money, then I'm thinking your budget, if you looked at the money.
Well, the original budget for hard costs was $9,974,500. We're talking about, which is basically $10 million. We're talking about putting the extra $2.5 million in there. That was at the district office. And obviously that's all up for y'all's consideration.
Okay, my second part of my question is, the administration, prior administrations have preached. Whatever we put in that bond referendum, we have to do. Are we allowed to wipe off district office and hope that we come up with CPI money later on?
We're not wiping off the district.
We will have money.
The CPI money is money that's come in every year and continues to come in every year. What we're committed under the bond referendum is the fact that we'll do a new roof, we'll do HVAC, we're going to fix these floors. And there will be enough CPI money to do that. Hopefully there'll be enough money at the end, residual bond money. And the sales and the management of it has gone really well because, like Mr. Eisenhower said, there's been $19 million added to the referendum money just from bond sales and savings. So we would not dare propose to exclude it for no other reason than the fact that there's so many leaks in this building that sooner or later, if we don't do some maintenance, we'll have a major issue.
I also want to just say this, Contract Construction and Thompson Turner are both here, and I want to say that a lot of our savings has come from good management from these contractors and architects as well. So, I don't want anybody to think that this is just a county and bond show. It's not, because it's been a team effort, and we really appreciate what they've done for us as well. So the recommendation would be that we approve the schematics as presented and that we add the $2.5 million for phase one of renovations and additions at former middle school.
Mr. Baker.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the schematics as presented and that we reallocate the $2.5 million construction costs for DEC to former middle school.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Kitty. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Tom.
Great, thank you very much.
Madam Chair, we also have with us tonight Todd Six and Jenny Kirk, who will be presenting some additional schematics for Brooklyn Casey High School. And our purpose here is, last time we kind of did a general schematics. Tonight we're trying to focus more in on what we think we can afford to do there. So with that, Mr. Cease, take it away.
Okay. Hey, and Mr. Eisenhower, if it's okay, I might just show just a couple images, give you an update on the great work that's taking place over at Riverbank Elementary. We always like to kind of take the same shot from month to month, so you can see the good progress that Thompson Turner is making on this new elementary school. So as you come down Cougar Lane, the new elementary school is over on the right, and you can see all of the masonry work and the steel erection that has taken place, the cafeteria and kitchen on this end, and then the classroom wings are proceeding nicely. So the work is, everything is, we've got nice weather last few weeks and really progressing nicely. So that's great news. And then over at the Kate Center, right adjacent to ES1, Casey Elementary, the new Kate Center is taking place and taking shape. So the new concrete wall panels are being erected. This is down the more technical education wing. Joni and Bernie have worked hard to plan with us, and you can see the tractor trailer trucks with concrete wall panels are lined up right here. The crane will set them, and you can see the outline of the footings, and so that's the remaining part of the concrete wall panel section. Masonry has begun in Section A of the building, and the they should have poured this slab today, so hopefully that took place also. But work's progressing nicely on the Cape as well, and I know we're very excited about this project. And then just to kind of give you an update on the work that we're doing at Brooklyn Casey High School from our last meeting until today, and Jenny's got an updated budget to hand out, but some of the things that have changed since our last meeting, we'll resurface that existing track. We'll provide emergency ingress and egress, accessibility to the new concession stand. And it's located here in between the softball field and the existing track. We're proposing, basically a complete renovation of the remaining areas of that existing vocational building. So the 2 new science labs will be located here. A fitness and wellness center would be located in this bay. And I2 Tech Phase 4 is located here. We've also, running simultaneously to all of the renovation projects, will be a complete renovation of the auditorium and the backup space to the stage. So you'll have dressing rooms and a scene shop that will support the fine arts program at Brooklyn Casey High School. The arena, as we discussed last month, is still is on track. We'll deliver the early foundation package to Jenny next week. So we'll be able to present bids on the early site and early foundation next month. And then we also are proposing renovations to the north wing, redoing those toilets, redoing the science labs. We'll have to do some ceiling work and some window work and some mechanical system work, but we've got that covered. And then just some minor modifications to the south wing and that security entrance. And that's actually a larger plan of what I just described. Okay. Jenny, you want to share some information?
Sure. Madam Chair, James, members of the board, last week, or last month, seems like it's last week, we made some modifications to the budget, as you might recall. So I have updated the budget for you to reflect those changes, removing the cost of the property from Motel 6. And what we also did is I got with Kelly and Don and we reconciled what has been previously spent for BC High School. And that's what this $2.8 million is that you see. That includes the I2 Tech work that we've done, roofing work, and mechanical work. So then we have $18.4 million left to spend. Of course, you've already approved the GMP for the athletic work of $1.235, and that's work is underway right now. And then you will see that we have reallocated some of the other funds based on the priorities that we felt as a team should be prioritized. Of course, we're flexible with this, and as we update you every month with where we are with the design and what is and is not included in the budget, you can, of course, voice your opinions about what you think should and should not be prioritized. But as you see now, this is how we have kind of set the target cost model for the scope that Todd has described for you. So if you have any questions, let us know. Of course, the other change that we made was resurfacing the existing track. And Todd did some research into that, and we think that this is a good budget for what that track out there needs right now.
So, Madam Chair, we would like to get approval from the board to proceed with these schematics as presented, and I think this gives us a more refined scope of what we intend to do for that school.
Mr. Bingham?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the schematics as presented at Brooklyn Casey High School with the target cost model as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Question I might ask Mr. Season. Are you sure the drainage here in the back where the elevation of the 5th tennis court and the field, the way it comes down, it's not going to flood that building, the gym, the existing gym?
I sure hope not.
I went to a tennis match last night and I was looking at that and I said, whoa, man, because it's aimed right at that door in the back. I just hope that that drainage system in there can take care of that flow of water that comes from that area.
I know we've had a lot of conversations about the existing pipes and existing drop inlets, and I think we are adding a new drop inlet at that location. And Don and Howard might want to weigh in on the work that we're going to clean out some lines that are there, but so that it doesn't back up.
It's aimed right to it, man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good point. So we'll make sure to take note of that.
Is your microphone on?
Nah.
I don't need it on. Eyeball and handshake's all I need.
We've oversized the new storm drain that's going in there. The problem that currently exists that we have no control over is that unfortunately there's so much water coming through there that it actually backs up in our storm drain system, which could cause some flooding there, but we have it there now. We're hoping to improve it, and for most cases we will, but for those real heavy rains, I'm sure we'll probably continue to have issues there until we get that water to where to go off of our site and beyond Brooklyn Casey High School. That we're going to continue to have those problems.
Stand, shall we dance?
Great music. Great, thank you very much. We'll see you in November with Adam.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, back to Airport High School with Todd Cease and Lynn Dillon with contract construction. We want to present to you some ideas about the 700 wing, which is the vocational wing. And I will say that we're still trying to settle up with the insurance on the fire damage that was there. What we've done here is we're going to try to give this a $1 million budget. And that would include hopefully around $700,000 settlement from insurance and an additional $300,000 that would help us to try to accomplish some new innovative things there for that building. Mr. Stacey.
Thank you, Ms. Eisenhower. So just to give you an update, this is the building 700 at Airport High School, the old vocational building. This is the location where the fire started and the most damage to the structure took place. So what we're proposing is actually, since you got to tear out the mezzanine and those walls that support the mezzanine and a couple of the load-bearing walls, is actually open up that space and create a 2-bay fitness and wellness center. So you can have cheerleading or wrestling or baseball cages, softball cages, all take place within that oversized area. We would also propose to address the toilets so that all of the toilets are accessible and would meet the code. And then the existing cosmetology space could be renovated into an ROTC classroom. There's existing instructional space. There's existing office space. There's areas for uniform storage. We'll beef up some walls for the armory storage, but I think it's a really nice place and suitable for ROTC. And then immediately across the hall in the collision area bay, we would create an ROTC drill area inside as well as a shooting range. And then you also have the opportunity to create some future flex lab type space that you can use as programs present themselves.
And as money is available.
Yeah. So the darker blue is more significant renovation. The lighter blue is cosmetic in nature and minimal.
You want to address what we're going to be doing with the existing ROTC, the college and careers area that we're looking for?
Right, so the existing ROTC area is immediately adjacent to the administrative wing and guidance area. And so Mr. Coleman would like to create a college and careers type area. So very near the front entrance, so as visitors come in, representatives from different universities and colleges and careers could come in and meet students, and it would be a nice opportunity to showcase the students at Airport.
So, Madam Chair, we'd like to recommend that you approve the schematics as presented.
Okay. Mr. Bailey?
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion that we approve the schematics as presented for Airport High School.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Kidby.
Madam Chairman. Yes, ma'am. I'd just like to say I really like seeing us putting in some money for ROTC over at Airport because, I mean, Mr. Coleman, I've continually been impressed, even more so over the last few years, with all the national awards they are winning, and I hope they'll be proud to know that we care enough about them and their program and how well they're doing that we're willing to make a dedicated type area for them.
Ms. Wood,
Yes.
I want to clarify, so it's just going to be 700,000 from insurance money, and then 300,000,
From bond or CPIF.
we've done so much extension and so much renovation on the airport, on the BC wing, I'm kind of surprised that we're not doing a little bit comparable, but I guess if that fits the bill, that fits the bill.
Well, we were given budgets when we came, and we haven't changed those budgets except increase all of them. We didn't either.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the furniture budget, and what we would like to do is ask the board for approval to,
We got the fire alarm first.
sorry,
That's okay.
Todd, you're not done?
I'm not.
Ms. Carter.
Too slow.
Okay. What has happened at a couple of our facilities during the renovations that we've done is we've encountered some additional issues that were required by OSF, the Office of School Facilities, and the State Fire Marshal to address in order to have occupancy, clear occupancy to use those facilities. Airport High School is one of those where that, when they came to do the final inspection for the renovations that we did for the art and drama and the special needs labs, they noticed that the strobes were not synchronized throughout the building. When I first came, it was mentioned to me that this fire alarm system, it's relatively new in comparison to others, but it's a die-bulb system, and just shortly after we installed this, I understand, the company closed their doors here, and the only office that they have available to us is in Charlotte. And it has become very difficult to get parts for this fire alarm system. So what we did with the help of Mr. Kugler is we've applied for some Abbeville funds. And as we announced, I think last meeting, we got almost $1 million from that, and $1 million was all that we could get. So we would like to propose that we use some of that money to address this fire alarm system and also roads and a sprinkler system at 2 of our other facilities, which we will talk about later. There will not be enough money to address all 3 of these requirements from OSF and the State Fire Marshal. There again, we'll need to go back into bond and CPIF funds to finish out the projects. But with this one in particular, we just wanted to talk about the need to install a new fire alarm system at Airport High School. Mr. Cease, you have anything else to add to that?
I think, we'll have our electrical engineer create drawings and obtain bids for the work to beat the code.
So we'd like to recommend that we approve of this project using Abbeville monies and supplementing that or supplementing that with CPIF and or bond money. And we anticipate a budget of somewhere around probably $650,000, I think is what we were estimating.
Mr. Bain?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the project for the fire alarm installation for Airport High School.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kessler. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Now, moving into furniture. What we would like to ask the board to do is to fund the second phase of furniture replacement in the schools. If you recall, last year about this time, we asked you to approve of a little over $1 million for furniture replacement. Now, that does not include monies that we have also set aside for new additions. In other words, if they get a cafeteria, then that should not count toward what they're having to replace in the classrooms as far as desks and that sort of thing. So with board permission, we'd like to notify the principals that they need to plan for the second phase of furniture replacement. And what we spent last year was $1,032,600. We don't think it will be that much this year because our enrollment has actually gone down just a little bit for those that we are figuring for this, not that our overall enrollment has gone down, but because of the buildings and things that we've already done, the numbers of, we basically have allotted $150 per student. And that's what we'd like to ask the board to approve as we enter into the need to fund the second phase of furniture replacement.
Mr. Bain?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve $150 per student for furniture and equipment in phase 2 of the furniture replacement.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Giles. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Discussion.
Oh, excuse me, Ms. Kessler.
There are several from a community who witnessed, and I know I witnessed, good, some brand new furniture being put into a dump truck and taken to a trash dump. I would hope that we would be very careful about what we're disposing of and how we're disposing of it. When we leave here, we think everybody's in good faith about what's happening, but sometimes we're so busy we don't put eyes on what's actually happening. And I know for a fact that good stuff was thrown away. I just hope that we'll be very careful and cautious about how we dispose of what we've got and getting new just because the money is there to budget. I hope that our building personnel are smart enough to realize that, this money is going to run out at one point, that we are very careful about what is disposed of, just a comment.
Any other? Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Madam Chair, we'd like to ask James Golightly to come to the podium with memorandum design. As we mentioned previously, there were 3 projects that we need to go back and address because of state fire marshal requirements and office and school facility requirements. And I'll say that at Pine Ridge, Wood, we have a need to go back in there and do some fire sprinkler systems and also some widening of roads for fire truck access. So, Mr. Golightly.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Dr. James, members of the board. I'll be brief. We want to go over, as Don was saying, a few items that have been added to the requirements for Pine Ridge Middle, Congaree Wood. Just as a quick refresher, very briefly, this is the original building before we did any work at the campus. They're obviously both on the same site there, work was done simultaneously. The blue represents the additions that are now complete. We've got response and comments from the state very late in this after construction had started. The good news is we were able to incorporate all of those requirements into the work, which is now complete, obviously occupied. We're basically done other than a few closeout procedures, which is really more paperwork and manuals and things like that. Other than that, the work is complete. On July 12th of this year, we met with the state OSF, Office of School Facilities, as well as the state fire marshal and the local fire marshals. We talked a lot about the roads, fire access to both buildings and around the whole campus. The result of that initial conversation was some significant work that was being talked about as far as widening of roads and adding roads and things like that. We were able to work closely with them as well as get some really good input from the state fire marshal as well as the local fire marshal, who has some input into how they would proceed and what their procedures are. So we were able to eliminate a lot of what would have originally been work. What you see here is what is currently being required. The red is areas where we are widening existing roads, providing a little bit of new to meet the requirements of now all three of those entities, the fire marshals as well as the state. And part of being able to reduce that scope to this level from what I was just showing you is the idea, the requirement that the Congaree portion of the campus be provided with a fire sprinkler. The other buildings have them, they have before our project, are sprinkler, but Congaree is not. So the most cost-effective way to meet the requirements of fire access and fire protection is to provide a sprinkler system at Congaree, and then the red areas you see here of widening the roads.
Just for clarity, what he's referring to as Congaree is actually the Seawick, Congaree Wood Early Childhood Center.
That's right. It's the Congaree wood side of that. Wood is already. So really, the final picture is this of the additional requirements of sprinkling Congaree side and the red areas of the existing roadways.
And Madam Chair, we will need to bid these out as two separate projects. So I think we will need to get approval for each of those projects. So the first recommendation would be that we approve to use, again, Abbeville funds and/or EPIF and bond funds if necessary to do this, install a fire sprinkler system at the Congaree Wood Early Childhood Center.
Mr. Dale?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the project for installing a fire sprinkler system for Congaree Wood Early Childhood Center.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kitty. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the second portion of that would now be the widening of the road, and what the administration recommends approval again of use of Abbeville and/or bond money or CPIF funds as necessary to widen the road to meet the requirements of the State Fire Marshal and Office of School Facilities.
Mr. Bingham?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the project for widening fire lane access for Pine Ridge Middle, Congaree Wood Early Childhood, and Wood Elementary School as presented.
A motion to have a second? Second by Ms. Kessler. Any discussion?
Just have one question, maybe James might be it. Is that mainly so when cars are stacked there to give, if something happened at that point?
Exactly.
Obviously, we're using it as functional now without, but.
Exactly.
Okay.
It is so, if there was any kind of emergency event at this campus and it happened to be at the pickup or drop-off time, drop-off is worse, then the fire truck, ambulance, the emergency vehicles can get around that traffic to where they need to be.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Very much.
All right, at this time I'll ask Mr. George Corley come up to the podium to help me answer any questions that y'all might have. But I need to modify this slightly because what we figured out through some experience is that Mr. Corley we've approved him to do all of our data and phone systems, so pulling of data and basically you're looking at the same types of wire for the most part to do several other things as well. So what we have from him is we have a price to install data lines, phone lines, intercom system, burglar alarm system, and bell system, many of which are integrated in many ways. So, and also in this, we're going to add, we've got an issue at both Airport High School and Brooklyn Casey High School where the bell systems are running off of a 15-year-old computer. And we've had issues at BC High School where the bells haven't worked for a while. We kind of got limping along right now, but since we did all this figuring up the agenda, we've determined that we need to go ahead and replace these bell systems at the airport and Brooklyn Casey. So with all of that being said, we'd like to approve Telecom Communications to install all of this at Riverbank Elementary, the Lexington 2 Innovation Center, Springdale Elementary, and Saluda River Elementary, and that would be the data phones, intercom, burglar alarm, and bell systems, and also an intercom bell system for both Airport High School and BC High School in the amount of $2,080,508. And that includes a contingency of $189,200.
What's the amount again?
$2,080,508. And Mr. Corley will answer any technical questions that y'all might have.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we approve the contract with Telecom Communications in the amount of $2,080,508 for data, phone, intercom, bell, and burglar systems at Springdale, Saluda River, Lexington Innovation Center, Riverbank Elementary, and the bell system at BC and Airport High School.
Did I say something?
They're integrated, right? The bell system, she wants to know if it's bell system or intercom. It's both, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Ms. Kessler, any discussion? Mr. Bingham?
All this is Cat 6.
Cat 6A.
Both data and telephone and just all the same.
Right.
Any other discussion, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Corley. I'll now ask Mr. Scott Reed to come up from A3 Communications so that, and Tristan, you going to come too? Sure. What we also would like to ask that the board approve would be for replacing and adding new cameras to Riverbank, Saluda River, Springdale, and the Lexington 2 Innovation Center, as well as keyless entry at those sites as well, which is the card access. And that would be in the amount of $706,843. That includes a contingency of $69,778.
Mr. Bingham?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve contract for A3 Communications in the amount of $706,843 for addition of keyless entry and camera upgrades at Springdale Elementary, Saluda River Academy for the Arts, and Lexington 2 Innovation Center, in Riverbank Elementary.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Giles. Any discussion, questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. All right, next. Is that it, Mr. Osborne?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So make sure. We have consideration of request for overnight or out-of-state student travel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, we had two trips tonight, both by Airport High School. One to one trip to the All-State Course and one to the Hosted Leadership Conference in North Charleston. We're also bringing you a trip that we proposed to you last time at Airport High School, TC, going to the National Drill Team Competition in Louisville, Kentucky. They changed the dates right after we had the board meeting, so we'd ask you to ratify that to April 13th through the 15th.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Bingham?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve all of the student travel and ratify the airport dates as presented.
Have a motion to have a second. Second by Ms. Kessler. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. All right, next we're going to move to administrative divisional reports. The first one is the superintendent. You have no report, Dr. James?
No, ma'am, Dr. Hayward Evans is going to need all of my time and her.
All right, so next we're going to move to instruction.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, tonight, Mr. Platt actually will be presenting to you the updated version of what South Carolina recently submitted to the U.S. Department of Education, actually on Monday, for the Every Student Succeed Acts. As you're aware, we have not received report card ratings since the year 2014. We're in interim status. And so he will bring to you what has been submitted and proposed by the state of South Carolina as we know it at this point in time. He has represented Lexington School District 2 with regards to this information. I think they actually sat in on a meeting as late as today with the latest update. So at this point in time, I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you. We just kind of want to give you a quick, hopefully quickly, overview of the new accountability system as the State Department of Education has shared with us to date. Basically, the accountability system is centered around or developed around the profile of the graduate. And I don't know why we're having trouble there, Rob.
Is it light?
Yeah, it's a lighter. Is that what it is? It kind of looks a little strange there. But it is centered around the profile of the graduate. Anyway, centered around the profile of the graduate. So you see areas that deal with world-class knowledge, world-class skills, and the life and career characteristics are built within them. Covers three areas. The first component, if you would, of the model is the ESA long-term goals to be achieved by the state of South Carolina in 2035. In these areas of college career ready, graduation rate, achievement, English language proficiency. We have 90% in the achievement, level 2 or higher. Level 2 on SC Ready is the approaches and above. Level 3 would be METs and above. In the course, the level 2 would be the D or higher, level 3 C or higher, that kind of stuff. As well as English language proficiency is 70%, 90% graduation rate, as well as college and career ready. Currently, there are only 2% of the South Carolina schools achieving these 90 and 70% rates in ELA and math. There are 25% that are achieving the 90% graduation rate, only 5% showing 70% efficient, and 3% at the 90% college and career ready. A part of the report card will be based on progress towards these targets in 2035. So the first one has to do with achievement. So this is kind of an example, or as the state stands now. In 2017 is the benchmark year. So in 2017, the goal of 90% or higher at level 2 or higher is 77.6%. That's where we stand as a state in 2017. So if the goal is at 90%, basically the way this model looks at it, it divides that amount, that gap, if you would, from 77.6 to 90%. They divide that up into 3-year targets. So we can see that if we go from 76, where we are as a state now, to 90%, that's a distance of 12.4 percentage points. So if you divide that up in these 3-year goals, if you will, these interim goals, you have to grow by 2.1 percentage points per year. So a 3-year target, or the 2020 target, would then be 79.7%. And so every school, every district will start out with some value as their benchmark, which will be their 2017 performance. And we'll all have the exact same goal of 90%. And so we'll have 3-year interim targets that will be reported on our progress towards the goal on each of those 3 years. So that's done with that 90% achievement. It's done with the 70% as well. So this is an example of the state starting out at 45.6%. And those interim targets as well. It's done with the English language proficiency, graduation rates, as well as college and career readiness. So this is one area that will be reported on in state accountability, is our progress towards these goals, these state goals, to achieve in the year 2035. The other part of the state accountability model is the school ratings. And those are built on a 100-point system. It's not what the State Department wanted. They wanted 120 points, so it wouldn't be confused with our, kind of grading system that's 100 points. But it ended up a 100-point system is where we landed. So it's based on a 100-point system, and there are several components to this model. But on that 100-point system, this is the elementary and middle. You can see where the points come from. There are points that are received from achievement, from growth, English language proficiency, preparing for success, and effective learning environment. What you'll notice, and I'd like to point out, achievement comes from, in elementary and middle, comes from SC Ready English and Math. So does growth. You notice there are 35 points or 40 points. If you have 20 or more English language learners, then there's 10 points in the bottom. But if you have less than 20, the 10 points do not apply, and so that 10 points is then distributed to the achievement and the growth, and that's where the 40 points comes from. Okay? So those variations between 35 and 40, 35 and 40, 10, 0, is really about whether or not you have a subgroup of English language learners large enough, which is 20. Okay? If you don't get any points in that category, the points can shift to the other categories. But what's important to note is 80 points or 70 points if you have 20 ESOL students, goes to SC Ready and Math. That's where achievement and growth. So out of your 100 points total, 80 to 70 points is from SC Ready, Math, and ELA. So that's just something to note. Preparing for success is really SC Path, Science, and Social Studies. So if you throw that in, testing for the elementary and middle school makes up a large portion of the accountability system still. What effective learning environment is surveys about the culture and learning environment of school. For high schools, you see something similar. You have the achievement. Achievement is Algebra 1, English 1, end of course, graduation rate, English proficiency, and again you see the difference in points depending on if you have 20 or more English language learners. Preparing for success is your end of course biology and history. College and career readiness, 25 points. There's a lot of ways, and we'll talk a little bit about the ways that you achieve points in that area and the effective learning environment. So, how do you achieve points? First of all, let's talk about achievement. Achievement's one component, and you receive points up to 35, 40 points for elementary and middle school in this particular area, and you receive a rating for achievement. You'll receive a rating for growth, and you receive an individual rating for English proficiency, and you receive a rating for overall. So let's talk about the achievement. Basically, every student counts. Every student is worth so many points. So, if we're talking about SC Ready, elementary and middle, does not meet expectation. The student scores does not meet expectation. The lowest level on SC Ready, ELA, or Math, they receive no points. Okay? Emerging, that's SC Alt, F on English language, end of course, 0 points. Student scores approaching, it's 1 point. The D on end of course, it's 1.2 points for meets expectation. Score C on end of course, it's 2 points. 3 points or exceeds expectations, or B on end of course, and an A on an end of course exam for algebra or English is 4 points. So every student, you get points based on how they score. Okay? Now remember, in this particular model, the weight in this particular category is either 35 points, 40 points, elementary, middle, 25, 30 for high. How that, the amount of points that you actually receive, 35 and 25, is based on the percentage of students, based on the proportion of students, what's the best way to say this? It's based on the actual points earned by those students as the numerator, and the denominator for that percentage or proportion is the total possible points. So for instance, if every student who took the, let's say, SC Ready Math in a particular school exceeds expectation, they all receive 3 points. 3 points for ELA, 3 points for Math, then, maybe you have 1,000 potential points for a particular school. And that would be based on every student scoring the top amount of points possible. Does that make sense? That's your denominator. The numerator is the actual values of the points received. So if I had 1,000 points potential, if everyone scored the highest, everyone scored exceeded expectations, yet my actual is only 500 points, and that's 50%. So I only get 50% of those 35 points. That's basically how the points are allotted in that particular area. Does that make sense? So how am I rated in that area? I'm rated based on a ranking of the schools. So basically the total points earned in that particular achievement category, schools are lined up and ranked based on the points that they earned. The top 10% of the point earners receive a rating of excellent, the next 15% good, and so forth. Growth. You're rated on growth as well. Growth comes from 2 areas. Half of your growth points will come from the growth achieved by all students, and the other half of your growth points will come from the growth of the lowest 20% performers in your school. And those growth values actually will come from the value added, will come from the EVOS system. So that's where those points come from. And again, once those points are achieved, again, schools are rank ordered based on those points. The top 15% point earners get a rating of excellent. The next 20 get a rating of good, and so forth. So you receive a rating in that area. Graduation rate. Graduation rate is pretty much like we look at it now. That's the percentage of students who graduate in 4 years as a simple percentage of proportion. However, I will point out that this year, those students in the previous years, students who transferred into adult ed diploma granting program were not included in the graduation rate. 17-18, that's not true. If a student leaves and goes into adult ed diploma graduating program, they're still counted in the denominator of the students in that cohort, yet they're counted as not graduating. That's going to impact our graduation rate. So I just make a mental note of that. When graduation rates come out for 2018, there's going to be a little bit of a difference there. There's going to be a lower rate, likely, because those adult ed students who go to diploma track are now going to be considered non-graduates. But that's a basic percentage. It's, whatever that percentage rate is, multiplied times the weight for that category, and that's the point you earn in that category. And just like all the other ones, they're rank ordered. The graduation, or the amount of points earned in that top 25% will be scored excellent. Now, if you're not in the top 25%, but your graduation rate is 90 or above, you still earn an excellent. Okay? Very similar to unsatisfactory. If the amount of points earned on the graduation rate is still in the bottom 5%, you score unsatisfactory. However, even if you're not in the bottom 5% and your graduate is less than 70, you still receive the unsatisfactory rating. The other point values up here are basically the point values of a range of scores, 25, 30 points, based on the data that the State Department run the simulations, took a look at where those point values tended to fall currently. English language proficiency. For the English language proficiency component, again, we get a rating in that as well. Students who initially score, when they first come in and are screened as English language learners, if they score a level 1 to 3 in that range, they have 5 years to become proficient. If they score greater than a 3 on that initial screening, they have 4 years to become English language proficient. English language proficient means that on each component of the test, the reading test, they must score a 4.0 or higher on that with access to the assessment we use now. On the writing component of English language, it has to be a 4.0 or higher. On the speaking part, it has to be a 4 point higher. And on the listening part, it has to be a 4 point higher. And in addition to being 4 point higher on each component of the English language, their composite score has to be a 4.4 or higher. Once that is achieved, a 4.0 in each of the components, and a composite of 4.0 in each component, or a 4.4 composite or higher, then that student is considered proficient in the English language. All right, so that's kind of the target. Again, that's a 10% kind of cuts off there. So this is kind of what that looks like. Progress towards that proficiency is measured every year. So if a student comes in scoring a 1 on the screener for English language learner, that means in year 1 or after 1 year, they should score at least a 1.9. If they score at least a 1.9, you get a point for them. They're considered making progress. They're on track, making the progress towards English proficiency by year 5, which would be the 4.4. Likewise, a student coming in scoring a 4 on the screener, they have 4 years to complete. That means each year they need to grow by 1/10 of a point. And if they do so, each year, the first year they get a 4.1, they're considered on making progress towards proficiency, you get a point for them. So that's kind of how that works. Again, you get a rating. You're considered excellent if the percent of students who are meeting that annual progress towards the target is in that 80% or higher range. The values you see for elementary and middle are the percentages of students that fall in those ranges based on the data from the State Department currently in this past year. The other area that we get a rating on will be preparing for success. Preparing for success is exactly like the SC Ready Achievement. It is just using the SC Pass, Science and Social Studies, as well as in the course History and Biology. It's done exactly the same way. It's the actual points earned based on the student scores as a numerator, denominator, that percentage being all the possible points that you could achieve, assuming that all students achieve the very highest possible points possible. And that proportion then is the proportion of the weight for that category, which is 10 points kind of cut off there that you would receive. Again, it's very similar to what we talked about before, you rank order. Based on the points you receive in that category, the schools that have the highest scores, at top 10%, receive a rating of excellent, 15% good, and so forth. College and career ready. A student might be college or career ready in many different ways, actually 9 different ways currently. So let's focus on the college ready. And this slide is a little bit hard to see. But we can count a student as college ready if they score an ACT 20 or higher, an SAT 120 or higher, an AP scores of 3 or higher currently on a list of AP courses. Okay? There is discussion about trying to get that list expanded to other APs, but currently there's a list of State Department that says these are the courses you get 3 or higher. It's considered. IB 4 or higher, 6 hours of dual credit, or 6 or more hours of dual credit. Again, there's an approved list for those as well, and there's talk about trying to get social studies history courses added to that, because currently it's English language, math, and science courses. So if you achieve any of those particular areas, you're considered college ready. So there's 5 ways for college a student might be indicated as college ready. For career ready, there are 4 different ways that may be achieved. Possibly through the career ready assessment, which currently is work keys, and there's an RFP out for what we'll use this year. We won't know until after the first of the year what we'll be using for our career readiness assessment. Cape completers and national certification, ASVAB or 31 or higher, or completion of youth apprenticeship programs that are recognized by the state. So those are the particular areas in which a student might be identified as being career ready. Basically, take a look at those percentages. Out of that total cohort of students, how many of them demonstrated by one or more methods that they were college and or career ready. Basically, if it's 80% or higher, then you're rated as excellent in that area, and so forth. And again, those numbers and percentages are based on the state data. Taking a look at those. Positive learning environment is basically a student engagement survey that is as well being procured, and we don't know exactly what that'll be at this particular point, but a survey for student engagement. This is basically how you will receive your rating in this area. So we get a rating in effective environment as well, based on the percentiles of the scores from that particular survey. So finally, you get an overall rating. So all those particular points that you achieve in each of those categories are added together as out of a total of 100 points, and based on the percentage, the highest, the schools with the highest 15%, they are rated as excellent. The next 20% are rated good, and so forth. So in each of those, you're rank ordered. This is a sample of what the accountability or the report card would look like. On the website, you can see basically, just put this here to show you that each component gets a rating, as well as then an overall rating as well. As you can see that towards this way, over here on this side, the overall rating, and then the individual component ratings. Questions?
Yes. I've got a couple. So I understand the part English language learners, the 20 cutoff. Do we have any schools that are less than 20 English language learners?
Yeah, maybe.
The majority of us are going to be over 20. On the rankings, I mean, especially it's like a giant curve. I mean, you're going to have some schools that are actually doing well and progressing, but they're rated below average or unsatisfactory just because percentage numbers, right?
That's exactly right. That's the one thing that superintendents have been working with. It's a bell curve. And no matter how well you do, the percentages will always stay the same. So, in fact, you could have schools that do extremely well, but it will always be a bell curve. There will only be a percentage that fall in the excellent category. There's always a provision that there will always be a percentage that are unsatisfactory. The unsatisfactory is built in. There are 200 and some odd high schools in South Carolina. There will be a built-in for a certain number to be unsatisfactory. Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of the things that there's a lot that Morgan's put out there, and it's a lot that's difficult to understand, and superintendent's group and everybody else has been working with us a long time, but if you look at it, a simple way to look at it, and Marcelo and I spent a bunch of time with this, elementary school and middle school, the focus is on being able to read well, write well, and do mathematics. If you can do those things, you've got 70% of the possible points. At the high school level, if you can score well on the end of course test for Algebra 1 and English 1, and you have a good graduation rate, you're going to do well. So we've talked, our focus as a district has got to be on the literacy portion and the math portion, because that's where the bulk of the points are going to be. High schools, it makes it difficult because the middle schools glean off those high flyers. I mean, middle schools are going to have 100% English 1 in the course. That's just the way it's going to be. Algebra 1, middle school is going to clean those folks off. At the high school, we've got to have a plan in place that says our Algebra 1 and English, those are the things that rate our school. Everything else, the graduation rate is kind of out the window. So that's our focus. But you're exactly right, there's a percentage that will be excellent because that's built in. No matter how well the state of South Carolina does, there's a percentage that will be unsatisfactory. So,
Ms. Brandon? And hearing that, Dr. James, I know that in some districts, there's a choice, and you can get up to, it's still the same way, you get up to 2 high school credits in middle school, correct?
correct.
Some districts will offer English, algebra, but maybe Spanish or computers or something. I mean, have we started thinking along that lines of maybe we don't give away all the high flyer scores?
We do that now. Some of, like, the north side, I think, can take a foreign language to high school. Some of our computer science courses, we can take the credits in the high school. So we're currently doing that practice.
And that has, in the past, it's been a little bit more level. As a matter of fact, at one point in time, there was opportunity for kids that were locked into high-level academic courses. They could actually take PE at 8th grade and get the PE. Or maybe you had kids that were in band and wanted to do this. So it's a little more narrow, but we're doing those kinds of things now. One thing we've talked to both high school principals about is the idea of going back and regrouping and looking at our 8th grade scores on English or for our SE Ready scores, and then look at English 1 and Algebra 1 going into the 9th grade. Do that as a year-long subject. Look at the benchmark score in the first 9 weeks, regrouping, and then move on to end up with a higher score on the end of the course at the end of the year. That's Algebra 1, English 1, and graduation rate are going to carry the high school. And reading, writing, and mathematics will be at least, at the very minimum, 70% of the score for the elementary and middle school. So that's got to be our focus.
I will point out one other thing about the end of course, Algebra 1 and English 1, it actually follows the student. So it doesn't matter, irregardless of what grade they take it in. It all follows that graduation core out of the 12th grade. So if they took the English 1 or the Algebra 1 in middle school, it still counts in high school accountability for that student in that graduation core in the 9th year.
Well, here's the big problem I've got with that, and I know it's not the district, I just come out from the state, is you've got a school that maybe has had some struggles in the past, and they start making great strides and making progress, and they're stuck in that unsatisfactory, and somebody's moving into our area, and they're looking at scores, well, I'm not going to go to that school, and it's a vicious cycle. They can't,
Well,
can't get out of it.
actually, once you get the benchmark, schools will have to do worse for other schools to be able to move up.
That's right.
I mean, it's a perfect bell curve, and the percentages are set. So
You get re-ranked every year, so you could actually earn more points in the next than you did in the previous year. And depending on how you stand relative to the others, and not with a different rating, or a lower rating.
well, you could do better in actuality and end up with a worse rate.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
But our focus, and Marcel and I have spent a lot of time with this, we've talked with all the elementary principals, we've begun talking with the middle school principals, we've talked with high school principals. Our focus from now to the end of the year, and then from now till the feds change this, which happens about every 3 to 5 years, is going to be reading, writing, and mathematics, and teaching science and social studies by reading across the curriculum. And you know, it's going to be a different mindset, but that's how the rules are laid out. Morgan, I didn't mean to explain accountability, but I've been listening to that long enough that I
Thank you. Next, we're going to move on to finance.
Thank you, good evening. I have the September financials for you. We have revenue, and since the printing of this, the county treasurer has sent the September tax revenue of $609,751. So that brings that total up to $10,381,319, which puts us at 13.05. So for revenue year to date. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Next, we have expenditures. Again, I'll be happy to answer any questions. And then last, we have the referendum year-to-date. If no questions, I'll move to the next item, which is the annual sole source emergency and trade-in transactions. State procurement requires that we present this information annually on the prior year, so this is as for last fiscal year. First being the sole source procurement. Be happy to answer any questions that you have there. We had 13 sole source transactions, 6 emergency, and no trade-ins. And the last is our minority business utilization. The goal is 10% of your expenditures, which was $291,964, and we had 1,014 transactions for total expenditures of $335,686. If no other question, I have nothing else.
Thank you. And if no other questions and no objection, the financial reports will stand approved as presented. All right, next we move on to administrative and student services. Mr. Hinton? Or is it?
Yeah. Jim's got to go.
Yeah. As you may know, as you remember, we drug test every sport season, fall, winter, and spring. This time was our fall season. We test 10 kids in each school. We take them to the lab. Results came back. In the beginning, we had one that tested positive for stimulants, but every time we have that, they have prescriptions. Some ADHD drugs tests show up in that category. As long as they're under their doctor's care and prescribed, they're fine, so everybody's fine.
All right, thank you, sir. Next we have construction update.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, you have in front of you several pages of construction update. We have to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Ms. Kessler?
For airport, when you delay the roofing, does the cold weather affect the roofing materials that are used? So we're generally cold in January.
It's potential, it could potentially do that, but these guys, they just can't work on those days. So if it's going to affect it, then they'll have to make other arrangements. Part of what we're putting down, though, is a different product from what we've done, I guess, in the past. There is some hot work, but a lot of it is single ply work, so it doesn't require as much hot work.
Because we've been told we had to do it when we had the weather for it, and we couldn't do it in the wintertime. So thank you.
Any other questions?
Comment about the $100,000 grant that you got. Is that from? That was over 4 years, district-wide?
That was...
SCG?
Yes,
You have to...
We applied for that about a year ago, and it was an energy grant.
Good job.
And we got it because of the efficiency of Casey Elementary. We are also in the process of filling out, you can get one per year at $100,000. So we're in the process of applying for the second one with Riverbank Elementary. And then we hope to apply for a third one, maybe with Fulmer or Fulmer Darcy.
What about the innovation center?
You can only get 100,000, and we think we can get it just on the riverway.
Good job. Thank you.
All right. Next is Human Resources, and Dr. Cooper, you have your report. All right, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. Mr. Bain?
Madam Chair, I make a motion the Board of Trustees enter closed session for consideration of personnel appointments and resignations, consideration of property matters, and consideration of contractual matters.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Donald, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are now in executive session.